Hey guys, what's up? My name is Jeannette, also known as Ms.FitVegan, and I'm here with a very, very special guest. His name is Dan McDonald. He's also known as the Life Regenerator. He's also known as Dan the Man. If you don't know him, you're probably living under a raw vegan rock, so you probably know him. Welcome, Dan, to the show. How you doing today?
Thank you. Today I am doing very well, Jeanette.
Yes, thank you so much. I'm a big fan. You certainly have been a pioneer in the living foods, healthy food movement, the raw food movement. And so I'm really honored to have you. My first question for you, Dan, and I have a lot of questions from my audience, but my first question to you is I'm wondering, how can people start to break free from a food addiction? So obviously, most everyone is addicted to food, foods that we should never be eating. How did you break free, and what is your advice on how somebody else can start the process of breaking the chains of a food addiction?
I don't know. I haven't done that yet.
Okay. Next
Yeah.
question. Well, can you elaborate a little, because you
Elaborate.
elaborate a little.
So I'm a big fan of the water fasting, and I feel magnificent. Now, of course, as you evolve into that, uh, it gets easier and easier, and you can go longer and longer with less and less detox symptoms, physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual. And then as you get into more fasting, then you go back to eating, and you feel so good while you're fasting. And the only downside to fasting that I've found is just the physical weight of the physical body. It diminishes dramatically. And I'm not here to promote eating disorders in any way, shape, or form. Eat, enjoy it, pig out, have a good time, unless you want to live by principles of moderation, sobriety, simplicity, clarity, and purity. And so politics, diet, religion, all slippery slopes, right? So ultimately, we're looking for balance. Because yes, some people, they just, recently there was a young lady gone. Now, the first time I saw a picture of her, which was only a few days ago, I never heard of her.
Yeah.
I saw her photo before I found out just a few days later. So it was kind of weird. She popped into my field
Oh,
a
wow.
few days, and I saw, oh, okay, there's something not quite right there. I know what I know when I see it. You can see it in the eyes, It's one thing to do a water fast consciously, volitionally, intelligently, with a hygienic type mindset. It's another thing to have those unconscious programs related to I'm fat, I'm ugly, food deprivation, I don't know what happened there, so I can't really comment. But when I saw the picture a few days ago, I said, okay, that's not right, because I can see it in the face, and I could see it in the arms and stuff too. So we're talking about a real, of course, one person dies of raw veganism and whatever else was going on there, and the whole world starts a campaign of propaganda. But yet, someone died right now from eating meat. 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 So dead, 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 all day long. Cancer, diabetes, obesity. Most of that's the processed crap. I've had so many conversations with carnivores and friends and meat eaters and stuff. Now, there's some subtleties there, But generally what I've found is it's basically the chemicals and the denatured, disorganized energy patterns within the processed foods that really diminish the quality of life, where there is some quite a bit of adaptability to animals and animal products. Okay. Anyhow, the main thing is that it's the processed foods that are really killing everyone. And we could all probably agree if we didn't have careers that were based on fighting amongst each other. So I've been working on my own inner union. So I'm a man of peace, and I could really give a crap less what anyone eats. If you want my help, I'm happy to help in any way that I can, but I'm not anyone's judge or police, because I have to work on this guy right here. So I haven't really figured out why the hell we eat in the first place, is all that I'm saying, other than it seems to be that food, and if we all could kind of, this is just my own assessment at this time, it's a constant evolution, but there is food tends to be a modulator of sorts, as well as a stimulant of sorts. But for nourishment, I have found the more subtle energies to be far more satisfying. And when those subtle energies get blocked, whether it's just as simple as earthing, I've been barefoot for 10 years, you know, unless I go to Costco or Europe or something like that, or an airport, I got to wear shoes. I wear little, you know, these sandals. That's one subtle. The sunlight, the fresh air, the thoughts, the emotions, the pressure cooker of the stagnant, unresolved emotions. That's a major block to the energy flow, because the heart is the most powerful conductor of energy. So yeah, love is the main source of nutrition. And so when you get involved in judging other people for what they eat and how they modulate their lives and how they stimulate their lives through a system where you have these fine folks, the underlords, I like to call them, they hate themselves. It's just an energy field that expresses itself through individuals that a lot of times have large amounts of money. And so there is a destructive effect on society. And if those who are interested in health, regardless of what their dietary paradigm is, we might be able to look up in the sky and team up and say, hey, we might want to stop that. We might want to stop the poisoning of the food supply and this propaganda. In other words, the newest meme is we're all in this psyop together. Now, I don't mean to get negative, but one thing I love about this dude's life was that he became a conspiracy nut. I don't like the word theory, because all these conspiracies keep coming true over and over again, at least for the last 30 years since I've been involved. And so I'm glad that I know about fluoride in the water for like the last 25 years, because although my pineal and pituitary gland are continually under process of regeneration through lifestyle, it is better off than it could be. And so my main message to share with everyone is try to avoid the detrimental as much as possible and cultivate that which is, you know, mobilize the forces of life against the forces of death while you're here on planet Earth. So I'm still under a massive experimentation as to what the hell food even is and what is really going on inside the gastrointestinal tract, inside the acupuncture meridian system. And the more I learn, the more I go down this road, the more curious I become, the more aware I become, the less I seem to know. And the less inclined I am to stand up here in black and white anything, because it's all merging into a lot of gray, a lot of neutrality. And then there are other principles that seem to be taking a predominance, that are more subtle than the actual macronutrients, micronutrients, and the other sciences that are beginning to blossom. The fascinating subject of microbiology, I mean, unbelievably fascinating. And we know nothing. And yet we know enough to where it's like, okay, if there is such a thing as the garden of the gut, what are we going to do to nurture that? And if there is anything that has to do with food, it is the feeding of that, that microbiome, and the exudiants is what I like to call it. I don't know what the technical term is, the exudiants or the metabolites, which seem to be macroscopic, microscopic, and nanoscopic effulgences out of the gut themselves that then in some way or another enter the bloodstream and then get to the brain and get to the heart and create energy and consciousness within the physical organism, and so I mean, so the question you asked was how to break the addiction to food. And the thing is I mean, that you can eat super clean and still notice the subtleties of eating for every other reason except for true need of nourishment. And here's the thing that's crazy. I'm 49 years young and I've never been hungry in my life, because there was a book I read 20 something years ago and it said, ask yourself on a scale of 1 to 10, how hungry are you? I don't think I've ever even passed a 3 or 4. Now, that being said, I have experienced true thirst. I have experienced thirst out in the desert. I've done dry fasting. I mean, I have experienced true thirst. And usually I'm drawn to water at that point. I'm never really drawn to water. In fact, I don't like it at all, hardly. And I do drink it when I water fast, because that's the only option you get to mitigate any type of calorie introduction, and or you're just doing it for, most people do it for the body to lose weight or whatever, but this one is more into the God, clarity. So I don't know how to break the food addiction because I haven't done it myself, because I eat for every other reason other than hunger. But my dream is to fast and do a complete fast and truly experience that hunger. I know of it because I've experienced it in lifetimes before this. I know that might sound crazy, but I've been through this. I've been through this stuff many times, and this life is the craziest because it's requiring a lot of love and a lot of consciousness. But I think that's why God or the universe put me in this position where there was going to be a lot of debris that needed to be cleared in this experience, because it might want me to share, like, okay, you can be born into these unfavorable circumstances, and slowly but surely, one tiny step at a time, work your way up into a place of regeneration and purity. So when I figure out how to break food addictions, which is at this point, more than anything else, like I said, it appears to be a modulating, sort of a modulating technique, as well as a stimulating technique, as well as, so the modulation that I reference as, a dopamine. and or suppression of the growing energy of consciousness that gets, we start off on these paths and we're going to change our lives. We're starting to do good things and we join a 21-day raw food detox cleanse or something. And then with, oh, we're going to lose weight. And then it's like, and then all the resentments you have against your husband and the fact that you hate your job and that you can't stand the cats and the smell and the damn hair everywhere. And you've been suppressing all this for months, years, decades. And now you're on this cleansing, live food, blood purifying, consciousness elevating, less numbing, because you can be 100% raw and eat your cashews or whatever. Anything really. So there's the modulating, which is suppressing the expansion, which is going to wake you up fully to what's really going on inside of you and what you really think and see in your subconscious that's buried below the water, the iceberg of the unconscious, which we don't want to see because it's hard ass work. We don't want to do the shadow work. We don't like it. It's not fun. It's very unpleasant at times, sufferingly pleasant, especially as you really want to get to the core of truth. You're going to have to face things about humanity, the shadow of humanity that we're all really, we all have the nice filters and the perfect lighting and we say all the nice things. But at the end of the day, none of us are free from the shadow of what we've done and where we've been and how we got here. So when I figure that out, I will make a video on YouTube on how to break addictions, but a practical aspect, because I do want to be of service today, is actually, and it works for everything, and that is the water only fasting. Very difficult for people, especially in the beginning. It gets way easier in the end, and then it becomes pleasant. And then you wonder why the hell you ever eat, because you start to get into these states of just peace. I call it the pros and cons of eating and the pros and cons of fasting. Let me just finish this up, Jeannette. I see you have a question. Fasting will stop the drug addictions, the food addictions faster than anything else. And you will sweat bullets and you will be uncomfortable. You'll get the EBGBs. But if you can water fast for 3 to 5 days, you can break the sugar habit as far as physiologically. Then you've got to work on the psychological and emotional aspects, which are more long-term. Like grandpa took us to ice cream every Sunday. And now for some reason, every Sunday, you just pull out the pint of ice cream, go to sleep, eat the whole thing, and then wake up at the end and go, what did I just do? I hate myself. So yeah, I mean, there we go. Amen. I can go on.
No.
I just want to take all the shite that I've been through and see if there's any way I could say something, because I know that people are really hurting. And I have a lot of great clients, a lot of great friends. And I struggle too on the daily with all of this because my intention is set very high. And so I just want to be of service if I can just say one little thing, because sometimes it's one little thing.
I can tell. Yeah. I mean, that's why everyone loves you and everyone's drawn to you, because you can tell who's doing it for service, like from their heart, and who's doing it like for, views and likes and whatever. But yeah, for sure. You have been of service for so long, just so many. And, I often interview a lot of, I interview a lot of people. I've never heard that answer. So that was a little like, you're so far beyond like what I thought we were going to talk about. So I appreciate that answer. Now, my question to you is, and I'm glad you brought up Zhanna, who is the young, beautiful soul that just passed. My question to you is, well, how do you, like, there's such a fine line between health and perfectionism and going too far with the fasting and the things like that. So how do you recommend people navigate that line? Because I agree. I do agree that fasting is the fastest way to heal, but many people, they can't come back then, and they just want to go more and be more perfect and be more clean. How do you mitigate that? How do you explain that to your clients and people?
I mean, I'm on the journey myself.
Hmm.
And I have not, I love to eat. I mean, I can get down. You take me to Olak with Lou, we'll eat like a pile of enzymes and we will have like a table full. We'll spend $300, a table full of, Olak, right? The restaurant
Uh,
in LA.
no, but I could just imagine you and Lou Corona eating. Like, how amazing to
Yeah,
see that in a restaurant.
curried rice, Edo burrito, the seaweed soup, seaweed salad, the nori wrap, I mean, it's like we're just dogging down. And one
I mean,
time,
it's all the pleasure, all the senses, it's so stimulating. Yeah.
yeah, thank God it's all raw living food, and then you get really high. I took a client there, we were driving through, we were on our way, we were doing the hot springs tour. Something I just sometimes if someone wants to really do it, they pay me and I take them on the hot springs tour, and then of course, so we're all grumpy driving. Nobody likes to drive all those hours. We're all grumpy and stuff, and then we go to Olak and we just dog down and so food, it's like the French, man, but when you're hanging out with your homies and you're eating and you're with your family, there's an energy there. And that goes to show us how important it is to have a good energy vibration, no matter what it is you're eating. I mean, I'm telling you, the donut isn't as bad as the thoughts and the guilt and the shame that you have about the donut as you're eating it. It's like, I love this donut. Screw this lifer generator guy. I don't give a crap. I love donuts. And I don't care what anyone thinks, and I don't care that I'm a little bit overweight or whatever.
I love
But
myself. I love the donut. Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, that's just a basic, I mean, ultimately, if you loved yourself, you would be love and you would love the law and you would love life and you would become more aware that that type of thing isn't really nourishing your physical organism and your life, except on maybe subtle levels. So you can't, there's definitely no, I've just, black and white has been obliterated from my life. And I call them the prison bars of concepts. I mean, I don't identify as anything. I can't, because I see, I mean, I am a little bit of a freak. I fast a lot. I meditate a lot. And I do lots of satsanga. And so I'm just saturating my brain with the highest levels of consciousness, which is what I'm drawn to. The enlightened sages. And they'll talk about diet for 10 seconds. A vegetarian diet is very helpful in the path of sadhana. Boom. They don't sit here and make a whole life out of it. They just try to get you to really the core essence of what's going on so that you can be free. And if you make another prison bar out of your dietary concepts, that being said, there is a lot of room in the society to live in alignment with the laws of nature and embrace those things. And that's why I really love the living foods, because it's basic common sense that all organisms on the planet Earth, not just living mammals, but all organisms on planet Earth eat a 100%, even the carnivores. So if you were truly a carnivore, you would go and eat the chicken right there. You would just eat it. And so, the living foods would do nothing to them. That's what I try to live by. Now I'm still like a chef and I made all that gourmet and all those videos and stuff. But now gourmet for me is like a macadamia nut wrapped in a romaine lettuce leaf with lime juice dripped on it. And I'll get a big bowl of lettuce and I'll leave the dirt on it. And I'll get the macadamia nuts, which are also local. And then I'll just get a lime, which is also local. And that's my gourmet style balancing. I found that after all these years that it's really good to have a balance. I was a Dr. Robert Morris, and I lived on fruit for years. I was a little wonky and wanky and lanky and stuff. And I'll just give you the short version. Lou brought in the protein into my consciousness. and the cultured yogurts. And then Tavis, my other buddy, he brought in the fats, which I've also found great benefits from, especially for someone like me who's been through a lot of drug abuse all my life. It was there. And the brain, this brain loves fat. This vata loves the nourishing, fatty foods, avocados, macadamia nuts, even olive oil, which is controversial. Never had a problem with olive oil in my life. And I think it would be shocking to people how much olive oil I can consume. And I've tried many experiments to hurt myself. I mean, I do weird stuff to see, okay, what's really going on here? Like, let's pour a third of a bottle of olive oil on this salad and see what happens. And I'm like, nothing happened. I'm supposed to die here. I'm supposed to have a heart attack. And then I get up and I go do my training the next day, bicycling, hiking, yoga, whatever. I'm like, okay, man, whatever it is with that olive oil, it really resonates with my system. And so I'm very aware of the pleasure trap, the SOS, the plant-based, but then I'm just like totally not into the grains and stuff. I'm not into the cooked grains. You know, if I was, I would use quinoa, or I would soak wheat, which I did for years in the very beginning, because Jesus was telling me, soak the wheat, crush it up, put it on the rocks. And I would use it in the dehydrator. And I made all these, I was at a party, we were having like a raw vegan hamburger party, and I made these buns out of wheat. I can't remember what the patty was made out of, probably sunflower seeds or something, but I made these buns out of wheat. And then my girlfriend at the time, Krista, she ate them all before the party. So it was hilarious. Because I would put a little salt, a little honey, and then make these little buns, which you can do. You can soak and sprout grains. At this point, what I'm saying is, aside from feeding the microbes and their biological and metabolic exudiants or byproducts, I mean, the microbes poop, and then those are like, that's your medicine. So your pharmacy is in your gut. But aside from that, the thing that I really love is the light. I'm a little obsessed, but then again, I've done buffo and ayahuasca and mushrooms, and I've prayed and I've meditated. And it's like, I say, what is my purpose? And it always says the light of God, you know, and every voice with ayahuasca, it's more of a feminine voice. It's the light of God. With the buffo, it's like the light of God, you know, it's like the light of God. It was weird. I don't recommend that stuff. And every time I have done plant medicines in the recent past, it's just like, you're done. You don't need me anymore. Go to the source. So, you know, I don't tell anyone what to do, but I do believe in eventually what you're going to want to do in your spiritual journey or your food journey or your journey in relationships, finances. You're going to want to go straight to the source, find that infinite source inside of us, and tap into that wellspring of knowledge, wisdom, energy, consciousness. And basically your heart is your greatest guru, because all the intelligence is in there. It's a matter of the massive amounts of distraction, especially in the modern world, getting time to get away, to get quiet, to be able to hear the still, silent, subtle voice that will guide us individually on our own journey, depending on where we are at in the stratospheres of consciousness. And that's where the issues come in, are the various stratospheres of consciousness. And you have to be aware of that. If you're maybe even more evolved, you got to understand that there are people that aren't maybe where you are in those logarithmic stratospheres of consciousness. You can't just be like, you're a bad person for what you're doing, because they just don't know any better. And for them, that's the best, you know? And so it's really love from the bottom. It's like, these underlords are trying to kill us. And you're like, love them too. You know what I'm saying? It sounds strange. Love them and avoid all the crap they're promoting. You know what I'm saying? Avoid
Yeah.
food, avoid the medicines, avoid the propaganda, and go out and live paradise, because if you get control of your mind, you can live in paradise. You know what I'm saying?
How can we start to get control of our mind, Dan, and our thoughts?
Well, the single greatest gift that I was given was meditation.
Hmm.
And I see you do some meditations um,
Yes.
on your YouTube. And so I'm more of a traditional, I'm coming from like, I have a real Essene background, Hindu enlightenment, but Buddha is also, so Hindu and Buddhism and Christianity and Jesus. So people might think you're confused. I'm like, no, I'm not. I am as clear can be when it comes to that. Okay. Because I don't get sucked into the concepts which imprison people and stop their growth. And when it does come to Jesus, I am all about the light of Jesus, but you keep the blood off of me. Okay. I don't need no blood, because it was but that's, again, I don't mean to be a derogatory, because that's another level of awareness. And if it's the blood of Jesus that keeps them from punching their neighbor in the face or stealing out of the cash register at work, then all hail the blood of Jesus. But I'm talking about, I was 4 years old and I was introduced by Ernie and Bert to the light of Jesus. And that is what made me what I am today. But I have also wanted to find out, in Hinduism and the enlightened sages, they will teach you how to meditate. And I needed to learn. When I did the 40-day fast, I was on day 37 or 38. It was 2:30 in the morning. Can't sleep on a long water fast like that. You come out, you sit on the floor, you go into the full lotus, because you're like, okay, God, what's next? I'm about to end this fast. I need to know, what do you want me to do? Boom. I'm transported to another life where I was an Asian monk, very stocky Asian monk, bald head, red robe, yellow sash. And I got it. It means you need to take this meditation seriously, because I was doing 20 minutes here and there whenever it was convenient for me. And then at that point, now I wake up at 5 a.m. every day. Well, I actually wake up at 2:30, 3:30, and I pray for whatever, an hour, hour and a half. And then at 5 a.m. when the alarm goes off, then I sit up and then I meditate for 1 hour. And then if I have time and my day allows it, I'll do another hour or 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 or 8, if I can fit it in, of meditation. That's my favorite thing. I'm not even really that good at it, even after 5+ years of a daily meditation practice. But that is what you can do to not necessarily control the mind. The mind is stimulated generally by the unresolved issues of the heart. If there is fear there, everyone's got it. Everyone's got the fear. And so, but then I also call it the bundle of sorrow, for lack of a better way to put it, which when I went and did the 10-day wilderness fast, that was the reason why I went there to do that, was to deal with the bundle of sorrow, which I did, which only just then revealed the next layer, which I'm working on diligently on this yoga mat, on the meditation cushion, with the diet, with the fasting, with as much solitude as I can get. But there is the bundle of sorrow, the regret, the shame, the guilt. And what that does is it perpetuates the mind to go either back into the past and ratiocinate over what happened in the past, or to project into the future, whether it's desiring or whether it's fearing the future or desiring to create something in the future, which honestly, I mean, I know I'm like the worst person to say this, but desire is an irritation too. Desire for more money, desire to be more famous, the desire to have a purpose. It's an irritant within the moment instead of just being here now. So it's crazy. Like, I don't even want to give advice. I don't give advice. Don't be like me. My advice is don't be like me. Don't try so hard to find the truth, because you might find it and then you'll become sort of dysfunctional. But what happens is God provides anyways, because I just can't seem to get it together. I cannot seem to get this social media career together at all. And the reason is because I'm so interested in getting this thing to where I want it from the very beginning. And then there were times when I thought I had to do this for business partners and things like that. And I thought the right thing to do would be to grow this career and become somebody and be service oriented. But I think just from where I'm at this moment, the greatest service that can be provided is your own enlightenment, for lack of a better way to say it, or your own peace, or your own self-love. Then you could just sit here and the universe is like, hey, there's one more person that has found self-love and acceptance of the human condition and has peace. And then then the yogi can just sit in the cave and they're making a tremendous difference, and they never have to come up onto the pulpit and harangue the people around and hear ye, you're going to eat this diet, you idiots, and everyone else is wrong. And if you don't do it, you're stupid because I'm right. And look at me because I'm pretty, because I'm in my 30s or whatever, and I have nice skin, or whatever it is, you know. So I'm not putting that down, because I fortunately have pretty decent skin and everything else still yet to this day. But that's just a byproduct of this other thing I'm trying to do. And the body's really good too. I never really meant to take the shirt off for any kind of purpose of like, look at me or anything like that. It was just, I took it off in the beginning because it was like 80, 90 degrees outside the RV. And then when I put a shirt on, the comments would be like, hey, take the shirt off. And I'd be like, okay, it kind of became a trademark thing. Plus, I also don't wear shoes or a shirt. I woke up this morning very early, meditated, and then at 6 o'clock, I took off, no shirt, no shoes, with my shorts, and I drove to the Makaleha spring, and I did my little morning routine where I drink out of the spring, and I take a bath, and I jump in the river, and I baptize myself. And so I don't even wear a shirt here because you don't have to, because it's always 65 to 85 degrees, perfect weather all the time. And the environment is that it's so supportive of not wearing any shoes, because it is paradise. There are no predators, and the ground is soft everywhere. And then your feet become, leather straps on the bottom anyways. So
Where are you? Where are you in the world?
right now I'm in Hawaii.
Ah, yeah, paradise. Yes,
Back,
yes.
yeah, back in Hawaii. I did some traveling. I was in Arizona for a while. I'm on a healing journey, which is multi-layered. But I ended up back here, and I have this little tiny box, and it's perfect for where I'm at right now.
Yes. Okay. So my last question, but because I have questions from my audience, I really need to answer. By the way, like the most popular question, Dan, was where is Dan in the world? Like everybody wants to know like where you're living for some reason. Everybody's obsessed with that. I don't know. I'd like 20 people ask that.
Yeah, I guess it's because I'm always in a new kitchen. I'm always somewhere else. And then I really did start to be more quiet about that. I don't even know why, except that, people, I've had some weird stuff happen. I'll say that. And I think that's what happened, is not a lot, but a few really strange things of people where they knew my location and they like chased me down and stuff. And then most of the time it's harmless, but I'm a pretty private dude. And, so there was this one time it was really crazy. This dude chased me down, but he really did. He's like, you can help me. You helped me, chase me for months. He finally found me. And then I ended up actually having to exorcise a demon out of him, which was instantaneous. He found me and he said, I took I took LSD, and I've been ever since. I've had this demon. And I just said, well, do you believe in Jesus? And he's like, yes. And I said, in the name of Jesus Christ, bam, the demon has to leave you now. And then his pupils went back to normal. And it wasn't really that of a strange, bizarre thing to me, but it did conclude. And I've used the name and the power of Jesus many times since then to cast demons out of myself and to cast demons out of others, entities, energies that get into us, because that's why it's very important in all that you do to do your very best to sovereigntize your energy field in every way that you can, without becoming like paranoid either. But it's the mind, it's almost like being in solitude, no matter what's going on, no matter how many people there are. And that also comes out of the meditation, which we didn't finish that question, but the meditation, it's the heart that needs to heal for the mind to slow down. But with the meditation, you're able to create the neurons and the neuronal pathways of the witness consciousness, which then allows you to observe the thoughts with much more space. Because, when we're younger and less mature, sometimes these thoughts can just take us down to hell and rock bottom and hopelessness. But as we mature spiritually, we're like, okay, I've seen you before. I see what you're trying to do. I know you want to go down the road of pity party or blaming others, or the myriad of ways that the mind wants to go to project or allow for these negative loops to continue, which emanates in energy and draws those things right to you. So that which you fear will meet you on the road. So that's why love is so important, to love the fear, to love the regret, to love the shame, to love the trauma, to make peace, to embrace the trauma, which, you see everyone on social media. They're all perfect, and you are the most screwed up human being that's ever walked the face of the earth. And the young people start to feel that. And it's taken me years to heal from social media trauma, which was an extension of inner trauma from childhood. And it was the most beautiful and the worst thing that's ever happened to me, which is simultaneously. I went on social media and I got the attention and the love that I had craved all my life. But along with that, and the shooting up of the 2, 3, 4, 500 subscribers a day, because I was doing a cool thing. And then it got a little bit famous, and then the weirdos. Now, and that being said, I'm probably the only one, but it's the 2 or 3% of the negative people. It's like the black dot on the wall. There's the whole white, pure wall of love. And then you see then you're staring at the black dot of negativity on the wall. And that's what's triggering your own unresolved stuff. So the old slogan, let your haters be your motivators. It takes a long time. You want to blame them. You want to project, but it's an opportunity until there's nowhere for anyone to place the knife, until you've embraced it. Yeah, I'm skinny. Yeah, I'm obsessed. Yeah, I'm crazy. All of it. Yes, I'm all about the money. I mean, I get up here and it's like, this is a job. It wasn't a job, but then it became a job. And this is on the social media. That's how I get to eat. And that I've never been comfortable with that, because I want to be like my mentors that just sat there and just silently sat there. And then finally, eventually they realized, okay, I might need to say something. Years later, they're like, okay, maybe I should talk. And then ashrams were built around them, and they didn't have like a business plan, and they didn't have like marketing strategies. They just sat there in pure energy of their consciousness And then ashrams were built around them. That's the nice way to do it. I, would love that to happen. But as it is, I'm still in the matrix of, hi, it's Dan McDonald, and I've got these products and services, and if I don't mention them, nobody knows that I have them. Although I didn't get into this to make this into a job. It's one of the practical aspects on the wheel, which I'm really working on embracing abundance and creating abundance with a balance of service arising from creativity and love. And I haven't really mastered it quite yet. But I am truly blessed. I will say that, because God does take care of me. And I am so grateful for that I have rent, food, gas, phone bill, Wi-Fi, and I can continue on this journey of cultivation of purity and life regeneration, because that's all it is. I didn't really realize I was a life regenerator, but now I see that it's life regeneration on every level: physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual. And I am barely getting started.
I love it. I love it. Let me just wrap up the fasting real quick question that I really wanted to ask you, which is, because you fast a lot, like you said, do you know any women that fast on a consistent basis and are healthy and happy? And do you think that women and men can both fast equally and see the same results? In your personal opinion, Dan.
Since I'm not a woman,
Yeah.
I can't say with certainty, but from what I understand from the thousands of case studies that I've read, tens of thousands, hundreds of books, I have consumed every single iota of anything that has to do with water only fasting that I could ever find for the last 23 years. And my understanding is that there is actually zero difference in a hygienic and scientific sense. That being said, I don't talk about fasting that much because it's a process. I couldn't fast for one day when I started. And I had to work my way up to a 40-day fast, which took 17 years. Now, I don't recommend doing that if you've got issues.
Yeah.
But what I've found is that you can make some pretty decent changes with diet, but perfect healing and regeneration of tissues and deep-seated chronic, brain plaque, heart plaque, it's a mucousy, rubbery, calcareous deposits associated with all of the consumables that have been altered in their chemistry and the alchemy of the synthetic isolated chemicals that are put in as babies and saturated through the water, the fluoride water that you get your coffee at Starbucks. I think they have filters, but they're probably not that good. So yeah, thankfully I started avoiding fluoridated water a long time ago. I will, if I have to, at an airport, drink out of plastic for one day. And then I go home and squeeze my testicles to make sure that those feminizing chemicals in the plastic are okay, I'm still here, because that's what's going on in society right now. That's a beautiful conversation. And I don't give a crap about the feminization of society, but I'm not going for it. And I'm masculine, but I am not toxic because I love women. And I am learning how to actually see the divine in them instead of what I learned as a youth is the lustful, And so then the social media is also very difficult because it's all boobs and butts, then you get the attention that way. And I kind of want to avoid that as much as I can because of what I'm working on, which is the retention, continence, celibacy, brahmacharya, again, just getting started, but started 23 years ago, but quite a journey we're on. So with the fasting,
Yeah.
be ridiculously intelligent
Mm.
and learn. And then when you do a 40-day fast, the phenomenon because you've read thousands of case studies of this guy went blind for a week. This guy, he's had a stutter, then he couldn't talk for a few days, and then bam, and then he could talk and the stutter was gone. Through these processes of, the living foods is an intermittent medicine of hydration and mineralization and consciousness in the gut interspersed between the true healing method of fasting, which could be mimicked. Well, the fasting mimicking crap isn't really real. There is something that happens when there is zero. Now, that being said, I've had amazing results using like a few drops of lemon or lime. In most of my fasts that I do, I will use lemon and lime. When I went to the wilderness to do a 10-day fast, there was no lemons, no limes, just pure water out of a stream, Boulder Creek, pure snow melt water in one of the most pristine places on planet Earth, the Olympic National Park, miles and miles away from anything. But the energy drinks, the coffee, the spritzer drinks with stevia, I don't want to knock anybody's trip, but these dudes that are teaching fasting, I'm not going to say they're doing a disservice, but eventually somebody somewhere, somehow is going to have to teach the people about true fasting. We have a great plethora of information as it relates to weight loss or intermittent fasting, but there is nothing. There's nothing. Some of the old schoolers, Jesus, Arnold Ehret, I wish he would have wrote like 10 more books. Thank God for Herbert Shelton, who, again, I love and respect his work, but I think there were some limitations there. Gabriel Cousens is one of the few people that has a very relatively decent handle on some of the higher aspects of fasting. But in our society, there's nothing anywhere. I don't find it anywhere. Goldhammer, he's a genius and a great orator in that genre of medically supervised, hygienic, scientifically minded, linear consciousness of the mechanistic paradigm of fasting. And that seems to be as far as we go. Fasting for weight loss, to get rid of diabetes, to get the insulin organized, all that stuff is basic, common sense, really. But then fasting for, physical, emotional, mental, and most importantly, spiritual rejuvenation and the burning up of karma so that you can once and for all be free. Once and for all be free. I can feel it. I can taste it. It is coming my way because I have worked my lily white ass to get to this point, and I would get distracted with the social media stuff. I haven't done interviews in years. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to try this and just see. And I'm like, okay, I'm still as crazy as I ever was on these things, but I'm just trying to get focused. So if you're one of those people that's watching this video and you need to get focused, be focused. Don't be afraid. You don't owe anyone anything. Call your mom or whatever once a month instead of twice a week or whatever. So you're not distracted by energies. And Spend some time alone. In nature's the best. The greatest medicine is walking alone in nature and leave the phone at home, which I do way more. I brought it this morning. I did my little morning routine. I made a little video walking through the jungle. I didn't say a word though, because I didn't want to talk that early in the morning, and I never talk on the trail up to Makaleha. I always just silent. It's like, you got to listen. Nature, go out into nature. Walking in nature is the greatest medicine next to the water only fasting in nature, or the water only fasting at home, or the cucumber juice fasting, or the watermelon diet. But there's just the stratospheres. And I probably will, hopefully soon, talk about real fasting and what it can really mean, because it's awesome what they're doing, because everyone's definitely concerned with the body. They identify with the body, they identify as the body, but that's one body. And the physical organism is the manifestation of all these other more subtle bodies that are purified through the living food to a much lesser extent than the fasting. But when you take away all of it, and there's just you and the divine intelligence operating, people think that it's only a catabolic process of breaking down. Like, I lost weight, but what they didn't know was that at the same time, they may have picked this up intuitively, like, I feel great, but that their organs, glands, and tissues were going through a very subtle anabolic. So as the debris that's blocking up cell receptor sites, inhibiting maximum potential on all the glands and organs that produce hormones, steroids, and neurotransmitters, and allow for the electricity to conduct through the organism and get to states of joy and ecstasy through that Kundalini energy, or whatever you want to call it, prana, life force, God force, the light source energy, the divine intelligence, the original intelligence, Allah, whatever, Christ consciousness, that is going on at a subtle level where you're in the state of refinement, as the slop and the sludge and the slime and the chemicals and the macroscopic, microscopic, nanoscopic, that's as far down as we can get through explanation, but I believe there are probably levels of energy that even go, and I'm sure of it, I see it in my mind's eye, but I don't know what words they would use, prions or something smaller than that actually create the electrons, which is the electrons are going to be more of the nanoscopic size of the debris now, because there was only microscopic soft metals that were inhibiting and creating the ADD and the Alzheimer's and the dementia and all the other subtle chemicals that are the synthetics, some more water soluble, some more fat soluble, but either which way, it's the fasting that allows all that, mostly out the urine. Some people vomit, out the sweat, out the feces, of course, out the ears, out the eyes, you fasting and you get these crusts, out the nose and out the breath, but mostly through the urine. You're getting your kidneys, and that's why it's slow and steady. Now, fasting is unreasonably safe. Some guy breaks a 21-day water fast with potatoes and meat and then, just dies. Well, it's like, it wasn't the fast that killed him. It was the way he broke it, thinking he needed to take in some building foods right away. No, you want to end a fast with more flushing and laxative type foods, whether that's juice, but I like to break the fast with, fruit, and it just pushes everything out a couple of days to loosen all that up. Then you can start moving towards, more foods that have more fiber and more building foods after several days, depending on the length of the fast. But my belief is that the fast is no different between men and women, and that women, they are somewhat different They do well with a little more fat, in my opinion, as far as reproductive and hormone. You know, a guy can be like, with the way the androgen and the testosterone works, he can like just go on like coconut water for like 3 months, and he's this skinny little sinew. Whereas the woman, her reproductive and stuff, and then he starts eating again, and then his reproductive organs are fine. Where the women, they're more sensitive because nature's trying to protect those reproductive organs. And I had a friend who just she's coming over today. We're going to make a video. She did lose 21 pounds in 21 days. Now, she didn't lose 21 pounds. She only lost 15. But I tell her, I tease her because she's my best friend. I'm like, it's because you cheated, which she did. And she cheated a couple times. But then she did the 21 days, the paradigm, complete healing protocol, and she lost 15 pounds. But the thing that really stoked her out was the fact that for the first time in years, she did not have debilitating PMS symptoms. Like, she had none. Only after 21 days of juices, raw foods, and she absolutely swears by the enzymes. And so she did the program, she did the rebounding, she did the juicing, she did the protocol, and it's a system designed to slowly and gently clean you out. And she says that I just hung out with her all day yesterday. She feels fantastic. So she was living on the mainland, but she came here to visit me because she owes me a few sessions. And so, to get rid of the, you know, I'm a dude, so just be careful because the women will chop your, you know, what's off if you start talking too much about, because they're like,
No, but I asked.
well,
So,
my
yeah.
period went away, you know, and it's like, oh my God, your period went away. It's like, okay, but
Oh,
do
yeah, that.
you get like have 3 or 4 days of like, oh God, I'm gonna kill these ass hats, you know? It doesn't have to be like that. I've seen it. Now, if you go too far, like say the lady with you're too fanatical. Like, I might seem fanatical, but I'm like, listen, man, when it's time to eat, let's eat some damn food. Let's eat some avocados, some macadamia nuts. Let's dog down, eat, and go get some exercise and get to bed early. But then with the, you know, don't go crazy, but with the women, you know, you want to go through periodic cleanses as well, because you will have to go through those heavier PMS symptoms. The more coffee and the more shrimp that you eat, and the more drugs you take, and the more alcohol you drink, and the more stress you have, and the less exercise, the more heavier your period is going to be. You know, so those heavier acid forming foods are going to need to be cleaned out of your body once a month so that the nature can keep you as a viable, you know, vessel for the reproduction of life. So, you know, I encourage everyone, let's get clean. You know, the underlords are trying to take that away. The nuclear family, the beauty and the robustness of the divine feminine. Let's keep those yonis clean. Can you dig it? Let's keep those wombs vibrating with life energy so that you are powerful. And then don't let any of these dollar store schlong shamans up in you without, like, make that motherfucker work. Make him earn your trust. You go out on a few dates and then you just open up. No, man, come on. You got to raise your standards and make these men grow by setting boundaries. And you are a goddess. And you have got to put yourself up. And you can't let these dollar store schlong shamans in Bali or Copenhagen talk about, oh, I'll fix your problems. I'm a schlong shaman. I'm a tantra healer, and I'll give you a free session. And all the crap that he's carrying from the last 6 chicks he told that to and left a trail, he's carrying all that energy. And that's the other thing about fasting. If you need to break them cords and you want to get purified, there is nothing. There's nothing that even works. It's only the fasting. And those cords, they burn and they cut, and you are reborn. And your yoni is made new, and your lingam is made new by the power of fasting. Then you can enter into the divine union. You find your person, whether it's a soulmate or a twin flame or a twin ray or whatever your deal is. And now you're doing something for the planet. Now you're coming at something divine, because I have sinned more than anybody else. And if I wish someone would have said something like this to me. I wish I would have had an uncle or a grandpa or a father who would have just said, bro, don't be a lowballer. Don't listen to this propaganda. And I'm 49 and I'm only beginning to become a man because our society is that messed up. And so I'm trying to get right. But my mind is twisted, but I am making a lot of progress. And it's the social media with all the sex. If you are here and you're listening to this, let my crazy sins, you young men, turn the TikTok off, put the twerking away, put the jerking away, put the oil of Olay down and learn, because you'll never do anything with your life as long as you keep jerking off. You'll never have any motivation to become a better man and to take care of a family and to love a woman until she is the only one. Then you'll have power. Then you'll be doing something divine. Then you'll make the planet a better place. Now, a lot of dudes are pissed off because that's all they got is sex and ego. And I have not been a saint, but I'm just saying, like, I wish someone would have told me that there is a higher level and it is way better. And it is divine union. And that's all I can say about that, because the sex energy is your life force for the young men, and the women is a little bit different. So there is some differences in the energies of the feminine and the masculine. The dudes, you'll just be wasting your brain. You all will be shooting your brain power right out the tip of your, you know what, and you will have no motivation. But if you preserve that fluid and you bring it up and you set your standards high and you're like, I'm going to find me a divine queen that is clean and pure and divine, because ultimately it is the feminine, the divine that you know, that guides the masculine to his highest. But if the woman isn't clean and pure and spiritual and evolved and intuitive, then they're just going to be down here playing in the sandbox, fighting, and it's going to be how much you can extract from the other person instead of what can you give. And if you find somebody that's ever worthy of you giving your whole heart and your whole soul, you will see that that is what will satisfy you, and not the pumpy and what you can get, but what you can give. And you can, I mean, when you have a feminine and you are the solid dude and you're the rock, and she is putting up drapes and, you know, making cookies and like painting the house and, you know, dancing around and whatever, you're just standing there. You're just like, this is the most beautiful thing that there ever was in the history of the world. And all you got to do is just get up and go to work and provide safety and security. And you talk to your buddies to get stable, and you do all the things you can. You go to the gym, you eat right, you take care of yourself so you can be a safe, stable, solid man. I don't even know where the hell all this is coming from. I think I'm talking to myself.
No, you're channeling. I can
What?
dig it. I can dig it. No, you're channeling, Dan. And that was so powerful, so important, because nobody's saying those things on social media. That's for sure. So thank you for that. Okay. Oh, sorry. Say it again.
All that came from unbelievable pain and sorrow and regret.
Thank you for sharing that. It's not easy.
Well, Don't fuck up like I did. Can you dig it?
Mm,
But anyway,
yes.
the mistakes though that make you grow.
Mm,
You have something good. Don't be a fool,
mm,
because you are projecting all your unresolved crap. So go look in the mirror and get your relationship right. Because when you change the way you see them, instead of blaming, then they're going to change. If you change the way you see your mom and dad, they will change the way they look at you, your boss, your dog, the tree, the bird, the cat. And so this is the one. This is the answer to the universe. This is the savior of the world. The person in the mirror is the one that's going to save the world. And so it's a path of purification, and it's a path of regeneration. And if we get the physical health, that's amazing. And if we get the emotional equanimity, which is love, that is amazing. And if we get the mental, if we can train our minds day in and day out to focus on what it is we're trying to create, and then we learn how to purify our spirit, because our physical body is the temple of the spirit, and our spirit is the temple of God. And the rest of us, we look at it like, okay, they got the muscles or they got the nice skin, but what's really going on underneath at those subtle energy levels? That's all I'm trying to say. This is just me talking to myself. But if people can dig it, then because I try not to have too much of an ego about it, but this is definitely what happens. This is what has happened for 14 years on social media. In the right circumstances, this thing starts happening, and it is when I feel the best. Yeah.
you're in flow. You're in your gift. Absolutely. Now, Dan, okay, let me ask you some of these questions because my community is gonna kill me if I don't.